lakes and fields. Outdoor ramblings, rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill. Rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill. Well, hello, folks. I'm Milton Crabapple. Welcome to another episode of Outdoor Ramblings. I'm here with my friend, my mentor, my hunting and fishing buddy, the legendary man himself, O'Neill. How you
Ready
doing,
to talk
O'Neill?
about it.
You know, somebody's really made the big time when they just go by one name.
Isn't it the truth?
O'Neill. You know, old Whalen.
Yeah.
Old,
Well, you know, I've been
Willie.
called worse.
Whalen, Willie, O'Neill. Everybody knows who you're talking about. It's just one name. That's a good thing. How you doing today?
Wonderful. It's a great day. It's sunny, pretty, 55 degrees outside. Great.
Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I know about you. You're a baseball man. You played baseball in school. Yes. And still hold some records, I think, for high school baseball. You like baseball, and I do too. I played a little bit on a farm team up in Crabapple. You might have heard of them before.
What was the name?
The Crabapple farm team.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. But anyhow, I like baseball, and I was watching the Braves last night, and I was thinking about the old days, you know. Everybody always talks about the good old days. Seems like today ain't never good enough, you know. They're talking about the good old days. But I was thinking about one of my favorite Braves players of all time was old Felipe Alou. You remember him?
Indeed.
You know, he ended up managing the Braves, I believe, for a while.
Yes, he did.
He was a good ball player, and he had some brothers who played baseball also. Matty Alou, Jesus Alou. I can't remember who they played for, but they was good ball players too.
Baltimore.
But he had another brother you don't hear much about because he changed his name to Boog Powell on account of he didn't like being called Boogaloo. So we don't hear as much about him as you do some of the others.
The announcer couldn't get through the game because of him if he didn't change his name.
I reckon he couldn't.
Boogaloo.
But anyhow, I like watching him. Boogaloo, I used to watch him too.
The whole family.
Yes, sir, the whole family. But anyhow, I got something you and I talked on our last episode we did. We touched on it a little bit, and I want to touch on it a lot more, is talking about lines and knots.
Okay.
You know, now when I was growing up fishing with my old Johnson Century push-button reel when I was young growing up, I think I probably had 8-pound test line on it, and I didn't know there was any other weight or line. I fished for everything big and small with that 8-pound test line, and I knew how to tie. I reckon it's called a modified clinch knot. I'm not sure. It's where you twist it around 7 times and go through the hole and then go through the other hole and
correct.
Tighten it up, and you spit on it while you're doing it so the line will get slick and it'll cinch down real good. But I know there's a whole lot more to it than what I am used to, and I wish you'd talk a little bit about the importance of the matching the line and the knot to whatever it is you're trying to do. My example is if you're fishing with a little number 8 Aberdeen hook with the cricket on it with 6-pound test line, it's a different knot than if you tie a $17 plug on the end of a line to fish for them stripers or something.
Absolutely. And these professional bass fishermen, just like professional golfers, professional NFL quarterbacks, they all make the game better. It's really important to them. It's a great deal more important to a Bassmaster tournament veteran to have everything just right than it is for the two of us to go to Lake Lanier and try to catch a few. So they make everything better. They invent things, and they like with the knots. Now, the one that you described that you used, that really was a clinch knot. Then it became, when you loop that line back through the loop and tied it, it became an improved clinch knot. And you make it even better by wetting it. But I am convinced that most of the time, if you break off, if you lose a fish or lose a lure, it's because of how you tied the knot. And you have to pay close attention. The spools of that line need to be like this. They don't need to be like that and cross over each other, because that mono will cut through itself. But the knot and the line is the most important thing that you have in your tackle box, is the line and the way you tie the knot.
Well, I've had my line break on quite a few occasions, and I pull it in, and I look at the end of it when I'm getting ready to tie a new hook on, and there's just a little bitty twist or a little curl in it. You can tell it broke at the notch where it broke.
Correct. Correct.
You can tell that.
Correct.
I
You
used
need
to have
to pay close attention. That's the most important thing you have, whether you're striper fishing or bass fishing or catfish or using live bait, dead bait, big bait, small bait. The most important line is the knot, and as it goes to the reel, your line is the most important thing.
And a lot of folks, like you said, that professionals, they want to get it right, you know, and now they want to get it right because one thing they understand is one swing of the golf club or one swing of the bat or one cast can make the difference of winning the game or losing the game.
Correct.
So they don't want to waste one single swing or one single cast. They want to make sure everything is just right, you know. And so in line too, you know, I have people say, "What kind of line you use?" And I said, I've started using here a few years ago this fluorocarbon line.
Yes.
Because I find it to be limber and easy to work with and strong. But you know, then people say, "Well, I can't afford fluorocarbon line." And I said, "Now these are people that I know them, and I know for a fact that they change their line at least once every 10 or 15 years."
That was going to be my next point.
And they can't afford to pay $5 more for 300 yards of line that's going to get them through 30 years, actually, because the reel won't hold but 150 yards.
That's it.
So it's just, folks, I'll tell you, it beats all I ever seen sometimes.
Well, I've been fortunate because of the television show and all these years. We've been around a long time. I have gotten to know, sparingly, I've gotten to know a lot of professional fishermen, with emphasis on professional. And a few things that they do. One of the things that I'll mention that they do, which was a surprise to me, and that is they change the line between every day's fishing. They got a 3-day bass tournament. They change the line on the reels that night before the next day.
Now I know a lot of folks right now, after you said that, and you just said it twice, so I'm sure they got it, are thinking, "Why, it'd take me all night long to change the line on my reels." But now somebody that knows what they're doing and has got the right setup, you know, me and Dude was fishing one time. I got a little old 14-foot John boat, and right after I got it, it's probably been 15 years ago at least, we took that thing up to 6 Mile Creek on Lake Lanier. Was going to see if we could catch some crappie up there. Or if you're from the Midwest, crappie.
Yeah.
Of course, that ain't correct. It's crappie. You can go look and see how it's spelled. Right. Anyhow, we went up there and we was casting, and up pulls a boat kind of putting up behind us there, and it was our old friend Ken Sturdivant.
Oh, boy.
You know, Ken recognized me over there. I reckon he recognized this hat with the sheriff's badge on it. But anyhow, he came over and talked to us, and he noticed when Dude was casting over to this dock that he was casting over there, and then he was messing with his line, you know, and Ken said, "Looks like you got some bad line on that." And Dude said, "Yeah, I need to change my line, you know." And Ken eased over there and said, "Hand me that rod." And when Dude handed him the rod, and within 2 minutes, Ken had that line totally stripped off of that reel and had
Mhm.
it fully loaded back
With new stuff.
and had his lure tied back on there for him and everything and handed it back to him. Now, not only was that a mighty generous, friendly gesture of somebody to do, but that's just the way Ken is, always wanting to help you, you know. But the fact is, he had the equipment to do it with and knew how to do it, and it would have taken me quite a while.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I've ever changed the line while I was in a 14-foot John boat for the
No.
junk. But Ken had it set up, and I mean, he could change the line in just a jiffy on there.
Certainly. And you know, there's an adaptation for that I don't make this stuff up. I don't invent this stuff. I'm not inventive. I'm not creative. And I'm not a craftsman. But another professional fisherman told me the following, and I have done it ever since then. When I used to fish the tournaments in the 80s, before you go that next day, when you put the rods and reels in the boat, unless you've already changed your line, the first thing you want to do before you tie on is remove 1 rod length of line off of that reel. Because I defy you to remember what happened the last half an hour you used that reel and that line when you went fishing the last time. Did you throw it in the bushes? Did it hit a rock? Whatever. So that freshens that next rod length of line, and it makes you tie a new knot. I know some of those professional fishermen, they tie a knot on new after every fish.
Well, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, you don't know. A lot of it, I believe, depends on where you hook that last fish too. If you hook him in the lip and get him out of there, that's one thing. But if you hook him down kind of deep and that line's dragging back and forth on them teeth while you're fighting that fish, getting him in,
Yes,
them teeth just saw through that line just about. And then the next one you get, you may set the hook on a 12-inch bass and the line just pops right there close to where it was tied, because the last one you caught, it just drug across his teeth.
it damages the line. Just like the following. That's another line. Gail got it upstairs.
Oh, I got them here too. It don't matter.
Okay.
This is live. It don't matter.
That is this. If you will take a look sometimes at the guides on your rod, take a piece of cotton and run it through the guides. If it goes through there nice and smooth, or you can't feel any raspy spots or anything on that spool, then you're good. But if you've got a raspy spot on one of those guides, it will break your line. When you've got, it may be the fish of a lifetime, and you've allowed the guide to break your line for you.
And you know what causes a lot of that? You know, folks reel their line up and then they'll hook their hook into a guide. You need to hook it into the brace of the guide where it ties them, not through the guide itself. Because if you hook it through the guide itself, that point of that hook or that barb on that hook,
the barb will be rubbing against the
cut into the line. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Well, that's good stuff.
I spend a lot of time telling people about their line, because I don't care what you use. If your line is not good, the knot is not good, or the line is damaged, it doesn't matter what you use. You're going to lose fish.
Now, I'll tell you something else that cotton is good for too.
What?
Now, I'm sharing a secret with you here now.
Good idea.
But it's the best thing there is to bait a mouse trap with.
Yes. They can't get it off of there, can they?
Well, they want it for nesting material.
Oh, I see.
They build in their nest, and they love that soft cotton. They're always looking for something good to add to the nest to make it real soft. And they find some cotton. Now, that's why they'll gnaw into a sofa or gnaw into a chair or gnaw into some upholstery or something, is to get that filler out of there.
I see.
To make nesting material. So if you have a mouse and you open cabinet and you find little mouse droppings or something in there, get you just a regular little old mouse trap and put some cotton around the trigger. You know, it's got a little old tab in there where you can hook it to where they can't get in. Put one small drop. You ready for this now? One small little drop of vanilla extract on that cotton. Now, they love the smell of that stuff. They can smell it from a long ways off, and they'll be attracted to it, and they'll find that cotton, and they'll tug on it, and that'll be the end of that mouse.
That's
yes, sir.
That's a good tip. I like that.
You know, the early bird always gets the worm, but it's the second mouse that gets the cheese.
Well said.
Yes, sir.
Well said, indeed.
Well, you got anything else about line? And
well, you know, I say it all the time. I say it often about it being the most important thing. And the lighter the line, the more bites you'll get. And it's one of the great examples. I've been fortunate enough to go. Here's an example about light line. I've been fortunate in my lifetime to go to Costa Rica for sailfish. It may be the #1 sailfish destination on earth. There's schools off the west coast of Costa Rica. There's schools of sailfish, and he is a sport fish. He can also swim 60 miles an hour. On those boats doing shows in Costa Rica, we used 15-pound test line, and the average sailfish weighed 100 pounds.
There's schools of sailfish, and it may be the #1 destination, except for the time I went.
No. Well, you weren't, were you in the boat with me?
We went down there, and there'd been a typhoon went through, you know, a few days.
I remember that time.
And I remember when we came over the mountains, you know, we flew in there to San Jose, and then we got on a little plane that holds about a dozen people. And we flew over the mountains down there to Puerto Jimenez, I believe was the name of that village we went to. And you were sitting next to me on the plane, and we was coming over the mountains, and you said, now, when we come over these mountains, you're going to be able to see Crocodile Bay. Just keep your... So I was looking over the mountains. I was sitting up in the seat trying to look over the top of the mountains to see Crocodile Bay. And when we came over the mountains, the bay was red as mud. And you said, holy, the bay is muddy.
They had a storm. You are quite correct.
We got there, and it'd been raining. That guy, I think he said it rained 18 inches in about three days. And
yes,
and it run all that fresh water, run all the bait fish off, and all the sailfish migrated. And I heard the fella say two things that I've heard all my life.
Okay.
And every time I hear it, it makes me just want to haul off and slap them upside the head. He said, y'all should have been here last week.
That's right.
And then he said, can you stay another week? They'll be biting again next week.
Yep.
I'll tell you something. How many times I've heard that, I don't know.
Well, I am blessed this morning that talking to you, and I did not, but do now. I remember that when we came over that mountaintop, and it was red mud. The bay was red mud.
It was up in that end. It was mud.
And I thought, oh man, and it ruined the sail fishing for that week.
You said the sailfish are going to be gone. I said, yeah, but the crappie will be biting.
Yeah. I think it's funny and enjoyable to talk about the landing strip, that little landing strip where we landed, that little single lane strip. I thought it was interesting that at the end of that landing strip for that little plane was a cemetery.
Ain't that something? I remember that too. And you know, there's a bunch of vultures sitting in a tree out there at the end of the runway when we flew out of there watching us. I wondered if there was something else I remember from that trip. That fella that run that place, you know, we talked to him. He said, I got to go to San Jose. I'm going to drive over to San Jose tomorrow. He said, I'll be gone most of the day. If y'all need anything, talk to, I forget who it was. And I just asked him, I said, how long does it take you to drive to San Jose and back? He said, well, anywhere from 2 to 12 hours. He said, it just depends on the weather. From 2 to 12 hours. I never did forget that. That's quite a bit of difference.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a wonderful place to visit. And what makes, besides the great fishing, the great lodge where we stayed, and all those many things that always made that trip nice to me. And I've been there, I don't know, 10 or 12 times. What makes it wonderful to me and causes me to remember it fondly is the people of San Jose, the people of Costa Rica, that is. They're friendly.
They were mighty friendly.
They're friendly, nice, smiling, and accommodating. And so consequently, it wasn't everywhere we went, everywhere we fished, everywhere we had dinner, everything was most pleasant.
I don't know if I told you about it, but I like to got my killing down there.
Oh,
we
no.
was down there. Me and Dude went off, might have been the second day. One day after we got done from fishing, we came in and we wanted to go take some pictures of some wildlife. We saw some of them iguanas and all kind of birds. So we went wandering off down through there along a little old backwater, and they're not too far from where we were staying. But look, there's a darn crocodile out there, about near as long as my pickup truck, laying off out there. And it's kind of a log jam. And I was trying to get where I could get a good picture of him, but there was a big old blowdown. There was a big old tree that just uprooted and blew down, and it was kind of out over the water. I said, I can skinny my way out on that big tree and get way out there. And if he don't swim off, I'll get a good picture of him. Well, that crocodile was watching me and I was watching him, and I got out on that tree and I had my camera. I reached to grab a little tree branch and that thing snapped off, and I might near took a tumble right there into the water in front of that darn crocodile. I still think about that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the name of the place.
I got some good pictures of him though.
Yeah.
He probably went back and said, I almost had me a good meal this morning, but he got away.
Almost got him.
I almost got him.
That's right. Maybe he was the one, maybe he's the one that the reason they call that place what they do.
Well, I don't know.
The name of the place is Crocodile Bay.
Bunch of them down there, I reckon. Well, O'Neill, you got anything else you want to toss out or anything?
No, I could, but I'd rather save something till next time.
Well, that sounds good to me. I've enjoyed this as always. And folks, I hope you've enjoyed it too. I think O'Neill's a treasure trove of information about this. It ain't often you get a lifetime professional outdoorsman and fisherman here to be able to share information. So I appreciate it. And I know everybody else does. So folks, stay tuned for the next episode of Outdoor Ramblings. And don't forget, always keep your nose to the wind, your eyes along the skyline. And if you hear somebody yell low bird, don't forget to duck.
You betcha. And if you're too busy to go fishing and take a child along, you're too busy.
Amen.
Outdoor ramblings, rambling around the woodlands, the rivers, lakes, and fields. Outdoor ramblings, rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill. Rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill.